The ship was quiet as it floated near the edge of Sector 14. Humans called it the Grace Field. It wasn't a warship or a science vessel. It was just a small outpost ship with a mix of humans and alien workers. One of those workers was an alien girl named Yella. She was from a peaceful species called the Jurl. They were known for their soft voices, long silver hair, and loyalty to those they served. Yella had come aboard as a helper, what humans called a maid. She didn't say much. She worked fast, cleaned better than anyone else, and followed orders. Most crew members barely noticed her. To them, she was just another worker from a distant world. But one human noticed. His name was Ethan. Ethan wasn't a commander. He wasn't special. He's just a technician who fixed broken panels and checked wires. His room was always a mess, clothes everywhere, tools under the bed, crumbs from his late-night snacks left untouched. When Yella was assigned to clean his section, she almost walked out. Sorry, Ethan had said the first time, rubbing the back of his neck, clearly embarrassed. I didn't expect anyone to come in today. Yella looked around. Then she looked at him. He didn't look angry or proud like some humans. He just looked tired, and maybe lonely. I will clean, she had said quietly, then began her work. But unlike other rooms, Ethan didn't ignore her. He talked. He asked questions, not about cleaning or orders, but about her, where she was from, what her world looked like, what her people liked to eat. Yella hesitated at first. She had been taught not to talk too much. But Ethan's voice was calm, kind. He didn't ask her to hurry. He offered her a seat. And when her hands trembled from long hours, he brought her warm tea. You don't have to do all the work alone, he once said, grabbing a towel to help wipe the table. I know it's not your job to listen to my stories, but thanks. Anyway, that small act surprised Yella more than any alien weapon or storm she had seen in space. No one had ever said thanks to her before. After that day, she started staying in his room longer, not because it was dirty, but because she liked the peace there. She would listen as Ethan fixed small machines and told her stories about Earth, about big blue skies, spicy food, and strange animals that barked or meowed. Sometimes he would play her Earth music, soft songs that made her chest feel heavy, like something important was trying to wake up inside her. This is what I used to listen to as a kid, he told her once, eyes lost in the music. Funny how something so small can make you feel warm. She didn't understand every word, but she understood the feeling. Warmth, safety, not orders, not rules, just being. One evening, Ethan came back limping. He had slipped in the lower engine bay and twisted his foot. Yella rushed to help him, guiding him to sit down. Her hands shook as she checked his ankle. You should go to medbay, she said softly. I will later, Ethan smiled, trying to act strong. You're here now. It's already better. Yella blinked. No one had ever said that about her. Not as a helper, not as anything. That night, she didn't leave his room when her shift ended. She sat with him, brought him food, cleaned around him carefully, and when he fell asleep in the chair, she pulled a blanket over him. It was a small moment, but it felt like more than her whole year on the ship. The next morning, she found herself standing outside his door again. Not because she had orders, but because she wanted to be there. When the crew's schedule changed, she was reassigned to clean another wing. She went to the supervisor and requested to return to Ethan's section. It's just a technician's quarters, the officer said, confused. What's so special about it? Yella didn't answer. She just bowed and waited. Finally, the officer approved it. As the days passed, more crew members noticed Yella was smiling a little more. Her steps were lighter, and Ethan bowed. He cleaned up his room a bit more, always making sure she had a chair, a snack, or music ready when she came by, but no one knew what was truly happening. No one saw how two different beings, one human, one alien, were quietly building something rare, something gentle. Yella didn't understand it yet. She just knew she didn't want to leave. Not this ship, not that room, and definitely not the human who had treated her like more than just a maid. After that day, something changed in Yella. She still followed her duties. She still cleaned the other rooms when needed. But every time the schedule allowed, she found her way back to Ethan's quarters. Even when she didn't need to clean. She came with a cloth in hand, pretending there was dust on the shelf or a stain on the floor. Ethan never asked questions. He just smiled when she showed up, handed her a warm drink, and continued working on whatever small project he had going. Sometimes he asked her to help him sort tools or pass him wires. She liked helping him. He always said thank you in a soft voice, like it truly meant something. One afternoon, the crew held a small gathering in the common room. It was someone's birthday. Loud music played, and people laughed. Aliens from different worlds stood, in small groups, sharing food and stories. Yella stood in the corner, holding a cup of juice, unsure what to do. She wasn't used to parties. On her homeworld, gatherings were quiet and polite. Ethan spotted her and waved. "Hey, you made it," he said, walking over with a plate of cake. "I did not want to disturb," she said softly. "You're not," he replied. "Come sit with me." He took her to a corner table and talked to her, explaining what birthdays meant to humans. He offered her a bite of the cake. She hesitated at first, but then took a small piece. The sweetness surprised her. "It's good," she said, her eyes wide. "Told you," Ethan grinned. They spent the rest of the evening sitting together, and even though the room was loud, it felt peaceful between them. She didn't feel out of place when he was there. After that, Yella began asking small questions about Earth. She wanted to understand him better, told her about forests, snow, and thunderstorms. He showed her videos of rain falling, rivers running, and birds singing. She watched in silence, her silver eyes full of wonder. "Your planet is loud," she finally said. Ethan laughed. "Yeah, it's loud, messy, and full of surprises, but it's home." "I think I would like it," she said quietly. His smile softened. "If you ever visit, I'll be your guide." She nodded, unsure what to say next, but her heart felt warm. A few days later, a problem broke out in the lower deck. A small fire had damaged part of the wall, and smoke had filled the nearby corridors. The fire was put out quickly, but several rooms were closed for repairs, including Ethan's. When Yella heard the news, she rushed to the deck. Her heart raced. She didn't know why she felt so worried until she saw him standing safely near the engineers. He waved when he saw her. "I'm fine, just got a little dirty." She almost ran to him, then stopped herself. She wasn't sure. If it was proper, instead, she stepped forward slowly and asked, "Your room?" "Can't use it for now," he said. "They moved me to the crew bunks for a while." Yella frowned. He wouldn't have his music, his space, or his quiet corner. "Any more? Do you need help?" she asked. "Not. I'll be okay. But I'll miss our little talks," he added, scratching his head. "Why yell?" Didn't speak for a moment then. She said, "We can still meet." "Yeah," he looked surprised. "The storage room on deck 3 is quiet," she said, "not used much." Ethan smiled. "You're full of good ideas." And so they continued meeting, sometimes in the storage room, sometimes in the back of the supply deck. They would sit on crates, sip tea, and talk. Yella even brought small lights to make the place feel less cold. "You're too kind," Ethan said once. "No one's ever made a place like this for me. No one ever treated me like you do." She replied. Their words were simple, but each one felt heavy, like it meant more than it seemed. One evening, as they sat watching a small screen playing Earth videos, a clip came on showing a human family sitting together, laughing and eating. "This is called dinner time?" Yella asked. Double quotes. "Yep." Families gathered to eat and talk. She tilted her head. "We do not have this. Not in the same way." "Would you want that?" she asked. She looked at him. "I think yes, but not with just anyone." It turned his eyes. To the screen, "Me neither." They didn't say much after that. But the silence between them was full of meaning. A few days later, Yella was reassigned to a new ship. Her contract was ending, and the company had already decided her next place of work. She found out through a message. Her hand shook as she read it. The name of the ship, The departure time. No mention of choice. It was just an order when Ethan saw her that evening. He noticed something was wrong. What happened? I'm being moved, she whispered. New ship. New crew. I leave in 2 days. Ethan stared at her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Do you want to go? He asked. No, she said quickly. I want to stay here. They stay. They will not allow it. My service is assigned. He stood up. Then we'll talk to the commander. We'll find a way. She looked at him with wide eyes. You would do that? Of course, he said without hesitation. You're my friend, and maybe more. Stepped closer. Thank you, he smiled. I'm not letting the best part of my day leave that easily. The next morning, Yella stood outside the command office with Ethan. She had never done anything like this before. Usually she followed orders without question. But now, her heart wouldn't let her stay quiet. The thought of leaving the ship hand. Ethan hurt more than she expected. Commander Braden sat at his desk, reading reports. He looked up when they entered. Yes. What is this about? Ethan spoke first. Sir, I'm here on behalf of Yella. She's being reassigned to another ship, but we're asking that she'll be allowed to stay. The commander raised an eyebrow. Reassignments are made by Central. You don't usually change them unless there's a critical need. She's needed here, Ethan said. Maybe not in a technical role, but she's part of this crew. Now, we all notice her work, her presence. She brings peace where there's stress, order where there's mess. And honestly, she makes this ship feel more like a home. Commander Braden looked at Yella. Is this what you want? Yella nodded slowly. Yes, Commander. I want to stay. I've never asked for anything before, but now I am asking. The commander leaned back in his chair, thinking, well, technically, we're short on support crew. You could submit a request to Central. It may take a few days and there's no guarantee. We'll take that chance, Ethan said quickly. Braden gave a small smile. All right, I'll file the request. You'll stay on board until a reply comes. Yella felt her knees grow weak with relief. Ethan gently touched her shoulder. See? Worth asking? Thank you, she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. The next few days passed slowly. Every time the ship's message system beeped, Yella felt her heart jump. Would it be good news? Or would she be ordered to leave right away? During that time, Ethan made sure she didn't feel alone. He invited her to join him in little tasks, fixing lights, sorting storage, and watching more Earth videos. Once he brought her to the greenhouse section, a small part of the ship where plants grew in artificial soil and lights. This reminds me of my grandma's garden, Ethan said, touching a small flower. Yeah, knelt down beside a plant with round green leaves. We have something like this on my world. But ours glow blue at night, Ethan smiled. Sounds beautiful. She looked up at him. Your world is strange, but it feels welcoming. Funny, he said. I was going to say the same. About you. Later that evening, the message they had waited for finally arrived. Yella stood outside the command office again, this time with a trembling hand. She held the message pad close. Afraid to look, Ethan walked over. What does it say? She took a deep breath and opened it. Her eyes scanned the words slowly then. She gasped. They approved it, she said, hardly believing her own voice. They approved the request. I can stay. Ethan laughed and picked her up, spinning her around before quickly setting her down again. Sorry, I got excited. Face turned a soft shade of gray-blue, the jural sign of joy. I did not mind. After that day, everything felt brighter. Yella returned to her work, but now she did it with a smile. People greeted her more. Even the commander gave her a respectful nod when they passed in the halls. But most of all, she and Ethan grew closer. They met every evening, sometimes just to talk, sometimes to sit in silence. One night, Ethan taught her how to play a simple human card game. She lost every round but still laughed each time. You let me win once, she teased. Never, he grinned. You're just a slow learner. Or maybe you're too fast, she replied, raising her chin proudly. Oh, Ethan leaned closer. Challenge accepted. They both laughed again, and Yella felt something warm deep inside. It was something she couldn't name, something she hadn't felt before coming to this ship. One quiet morning, as they walked through the maintenance hall, the ship shook slightly. Lights flickered, and the alarm buzzed for 2 seconds before stopping. Ethan's expression turned. "Serious, that's not normal." A voice came over the comms. "Tension crew. Minor asteroid impact. No critical damage. Please report to your assigned stations." Ethan was called to the engine room. Yella wasn't needed there, but she followed him anyway. "I'll stay close," she said. "You don't have to," he replied. "I want to," she said softly. Inside the engine room, technicians worked fast to check the systems. Ethan climbed into a narrow space to inspect the wiring. Yella waited outside, watching the others. Suddenly, sparks burst from a power line nearby. A technician yelled and others rushed to stop the small fire. In the chaos, a pipe above Ethan cracked, shaking. "Loose, Ethan," Yella shouted. He looked up just as the pipe dropped. Before anyone else could move, Yella jumped forward and pulled him away. The pipe crashed beside them, releasing steam. Ethan coughed, holding her. You saved me. You would have." "Saved me too," she said, her voice trembling. After the fire was out and the danger passed, the crew gathered. Commander Braden spoke to the team, praising their quick action. Then he turned to Yola. "You acted with courage." "Thank you, Yola." She bowed slightly. "I only did what felt right." Ethan stepped beside her. "She's more than a maid, Commander. She's crew. And she's my—" He paused. "Yeah," turned to him, eyes wide. He smiled. "You're my friend, but also maybe something more." She smiled back. "I think I feel the same." As the crew returned to work, Ethan and Yella walked side by side. The hallway felt warmer. Their steps felt lighter. Neither of them knew what would come next. But they both knew this much. Whatever it was, they wanted to face it together. Ever since the engine room accident, Yella had become more than just a helper on the ship. Crew members treated her with more respect. Some even asked her opinion before making small decisions, which had never happened before. They started to see what Ethan had always seen, that she wasn't just quiet and loyal, but thoughtful and brave too. But what surprised Yella most was how people looked at her when she walked beside Ethan. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was something softer, something like understanding. She still worked her normal shifts, cleaning and helping, but more often now. Ethan asked her to join him in his tasks. They fixed panels together. He showed her how to check wiring and how to read technical maps. "You're learning fast," he said one afternoon, as they sat beneath a maintenance vent, their hands covered in dust. "You are a good teacher," she replied. He chuckled. "Don't let the others hear that. They'll expect me to train everyone." "I will tell no one," she said with a slight grin. That day, Ethan handed her a small device. "This is a portable tool scanner. I fixed it for you." She looked at it with wide eyes. "For me? Yeah. I figured you could use it. You're not just cleaning anymore. You're helping fix things. You deserve tools, too." She took the scanner gently, holding it like a treasure. "Thank you. I will take good care of it." As the days passed, their connection grew stronger. They shared meals now. Sometimes they sat together in the quiet garden module, sometimes in the crew lounge. They didn't always talk. Sometimes they just sat side by side, watching stars pass outside the large window. One evening, while they ate together, Ethan asked, "Do your people have something like friendship?" "Yes," Yella said. "Though we call it heart thread, it is when two minds feel safe together." "That's beautiful," he said. She looked at him. "You are my heart thread, Ethan." He didn't speak right away. Then he said quietly, "And you're mine." He didn't need more words after that, but good things didn't last forever, at least, not without a test. A few days later, a transport ship docked with the Gracefield. It brought supplies and a new team of workers. With them came an inspector from the main station atoll, a strict-looking woman named Officer Levon. She walked through the ship with sharp eyes, scanning rooms, checking logs, and reviewing crew assignments. When she came across Yella, she frowned.
"Ow!"
You're a Jural support worker, yes? Yes, officer, Yella said, bowing slightly. Your record shows a change in assignment. You were supposed to be moved last cycle. A request was approved, Yella replied. The officer checked her tablet. This will need review. Ethan heard about the inspection and met Yella in the hallway after her talk with Officer Levon. What happened? He asked. She wants to review my stay, Yella said, her voice calm but her eyes worried. Ethan clenched his jaw. She can't just take you away. If command above says so, I must go. We won't let that happen. They both knew the truth. Sometimes orders from Central overruled everything. Even the commander's voice might not be enough. And this inspector looked like someone who followed the rule book without heart. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He paced his room, thinking. Yella had given him peace, laughter, and a reason to wake up happy each day. The thought of her being forced away made his chest feel heavy. The next morning, the crew gathered in the assembly room. Officer Levin stood at the front with Commander Braden beside her. This inspection is standard, she began. However, one issue was found involving a support worker's placement, Miss Yella of the Jural. The room grew quiet, based. On contract review, she continued, her time here was not meant to be extended. Her reassignment was delayed without final approval. Therefore, she is to return with my team for reassignment. Yella stood in the corner, still and silent. Ethan stepped forward. Officer, with respect, Yella is part of this crew. That is not your decision, technician, Levin said. But it's ours, Commander Braden said, stepping forward. She has saved lives, improved morale, and helped this ship run better than ever. Levon frowned. This is not about feelings. It's about rules. Ethan raised his voice slightly. Sometimes rules forget the people they're made for. Room stayed silent. Yella finally spoke. I will go if I must, she said softly. But this ship, this crew, it is the only place I have ever felt like I belonged. Officer Levin looked at her, then at the rest of the room. Most of the crew had turned to face her. Some nodded. Others looked angry. She sighed. Very well. I will mark this as a special request and pass it to Central. The decision is delayed for now, but be ready. It may not go your way. As she left the room, Commander Braden whispered to Yella, We'll fight for you. Later in the quiet of the storage room, Ethan and Yella sat close together. Scared, she said. Me too, Ethan replied. She looked at him. If I must go, will you remember me? Always, he said, taking her hand. But I'm not giving up yet, not until they drag you out of here, and even then I'll follow. Her fingers wrapped around his. I've never had anyone fight for me. Then let this be the first, he whispered. After Officer Levin left the grace field, the crew was quiet for a day. People went back to their tasks, but something felt different. Tension hung in the air. No one said it out loud, but everyone worried about what Central Command would decide. Would they force Yella to leave? Yella kept working, but her steps were slower. Her hands moved with care, yet her eyes often drifted toward the hallways, as if waiting for someone to come and take her away. Ethan noticed it all. He didn't want to speak of goodbye, but he felt the clock ticking. They both knew that another message would come soon, one that might change everything. He went to Commander Braden privately. Isn't there anything else we can do? Commander rubbed his chin. I've sent my appeal. The crew has sent their support statements. We've done everything within protocol. But if it's not enough? Ethan asked. Braden looked him in the eye. Then it comes down to what you're willing to do outside protocol. Those words stayed with Ethan all day. That evening, he found Yella in the garden module. She was kneeling by a small flower that had just bloomed under the ship's artificial lights. Her fingers touched the petals gently. This one opened today, she said as he came near. I was waiting for it. Ethan sat beside her. It's beautiful. It reminds me of home, she said softly. We had gardens with wide petals. Like this, they only opened when the moon was full. I want to see your world one day, Ethan said. And I want to see yours, she replied. But more than anything, I want to stay here. He didn't speak for a moment. Then he took something from his pocket, a small chip, about the size of a coin. What is that? She asked. A personal log. I've been recording a file. It's everything I'd want someone at Central to hear, not reports, not data, just truth. She looked at him with surprise. You made this for me? For us, he said. I want them to know who you really are, not just your species, not just your role, but you. The one who helped this ship stay together, the one who brought peace to tired people, the one who saved me. Yella reached out and took the chip slowly. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, Ethan said. But if they try to take you away, we're not going to be silent. The next day, the reply from Central came. Commander Braden stood in the control room, holding the message pad. The crew waited in silence as he read the decision. His face was hard to read, but when he spoke, his voice was calm. Denied the reassignment extension. Yella is ordered to return on the next transport. A few gasps came from the crew. Yella stood still, not blinking. Ethan's hands curled into fists. Commander Braden continued. However, they added a note. Unless a higher appeal is made with further evidence, Ethan stepped forward. We have something. He handed over the chip. Play this. Braden looked at it, then inserted it into the console. The screen lit up, and Ethan's voice filled the room. This is Technician Ethan Cole. The recording began. This is not a formal report. This is a personal message about someone who changed this ship. As the message played, it showed video clips from the ship's internal cameras, GLO helping crew members, fixing systems beside Ethan, saving him in the engine room, and even smiling in the garden. Ethan's voice spoke gently over it. She made this place feel like home, not because of her job, but because of who she is. And if we lose her, we lose something more than a worker. We lose part of our heart. The room was silent when it ended. Yella looked down, her face full of emotion. Commander Braden nodded. I'll send this now. He turned to the comms officer. Priority channel, full appeal. For the next 2 days, everyone waited. Wyla didn't say much, but she often sat beside Ethan. He didn't say much either. They didn't need words now. They just needed time to stop moving so fast. Finally, the reply came. Commander Braden called them to the bridge again. He looked at Yella first. Central reviewed the appeal, he said. They accepted it. A cheer went up from the crew. People clapped and smiled. Ethan let out a deep breath and laughed. Yella stood frozen, then slowly stepped forward. I can stay? You're one of us now, Braden said with a smile, officially. Tears formed in Yella's eyes, not sadness, but something she didn't know how to name. She turned to Ethan and, without thinking, hugged him. The whole room paused for a moment. Then someone laughed and clapped harder. Ethan hugged her back gently. You're not going anywhere. I don't want to, she whispered. From that day on, Yola had a new title. She was no longer just a helper. She was listed as a support technician, working alongside Ethan. They still fixed things together, still had tea breaks, still watched videos of Earth and Jural gardens. But now, everything felt different. Not because of titles or uniforms, but because they had chosen each other, and no order could break that. Weeks passed and life aboard the Gracefield slowly returned to normal. But for Yella and Ethan, nothing was the same. Now they worked side by side every day, not just as co-workers, but as something more. No one on the crew questioned it. In fact, many smiled when they saw the two of them walking together through the halls. Sharing quiet words or helping each other with tools and wires, Ethan showed Eula how to fix cooling systems, install emergency lights, and even run safety checks. She caught on quickly. Yella had always been smart and careful, but now she had something new, a reason to push herself further. You've got better hands than half the team, Ethan joked one afternoon as she carefully repaired a panel. Only because you taught me, she said with a grin. Commander Braden soon noticed their teamwork. One morning, he handed them both a new assignment, to lead repairs on the ship's outer communication array. It was a big job, and it showed how much he trusted them, as they suited up in their lightweight repair gear and floated outside the ship. Yella looked out at the stars. Her people didn't do spacewalks often. It was strange being surrounded by darkness, with only a thin suit between her and the void. but she wasn't scared. It's not with Ethan by her side. Beautiful out here, huh? Ethan said over the comms. Yes. She answered, but cold. Then let's work fast, he said, chuckling. They moved across the surface, using magnetic boots and gloved hands to reach the damaged dish. It had been hit by small space debris, bending the outer frame and cutting power to the signal relay. Hold this, Ethan said as he adjusted a metal rod. Done, Yella replied, steadying it with both hands. They worked in sync without needing to explain much. Even in silence, they understood each other. As they finished the final weld, a small alarm beeped in Ethan's headset. Asteroid fragments incoming, he said, checking his scanner. Small ones. Impact possible in 90 seconds. We need to move, Yella said quickly. Go back first, Ethan told her. Not without you. What? She replied firmly. He smiled, even though she couldn't see it behind his helmet. Together, then, they pushed off the array and floated back toward the airlock. The ship's shield activated just in time, protecting them from the small pieces of debris that bounced off the hull. They reached safety seconds later, pulling themselves inside and locking the airlock behind them. When their helmets came off, they were both breathing hard but smiling. First spacewalk completed, Ethan said, and survived. Yella added. They both laughed, leaning back against the wall. Later that evening, the crew celebrated the successful repair. The communication system was back online. Central even sent a message of thanks. But what mattered most wasn't the job they had already proven. It worked well together. What mattered was how they had grown, from quiet worker and messy technician to partners who could trust each other with anything. In the quiet of the garden module that night, Yella sat beside Ethan under the soft lights. Your world must be strange, she said. So much noise, so much color, so much emotion. He replied. But I think you'd like it, if I ever visit. Would your people accept me? Ethan looked at her. Some might be surprised at first. But if they knew you like I do, they'd see the same thing I see. What do you see? She asked. Softly he paused. Someone brave, kind, strong, and someone who made this ship a better place. She looked down at her hands. My people never believed in working with others closely. We were taught to serve and stay quiet. You've done more than that, Ethan said. You've changed lives, mine included. Yella reached into her pocket and pulled out a small crystal. It shimmered with a faint blue glow. This is from my home, she said. We give it to someone when they become part of our heart thread. She held it out to him. You don't have to, Ethan whispered, surprised. I want to, she said. He took it carefully, holding it like something precious. I've never received anything like this. Then keep it close, she said, so you never forget. I couldn't forget you even if I tried. They sat together in silence, the stars visible through the glass above them, round them. The ship hummed softly, its systems working perfectly. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not past orders, not future missions. Only two souls from different worlds who had found something rare in the vastness of space. And every day after, Yella kept returning not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She wasn't just a maid anymore. She was part of something bigger. She was home.